morning and welcome to another edition of the Inside the FLX podcast presented by FL1 News. Our program today begins in a high school or college classroom near you. In either setting, a discussion is likely taking place. It's framed around the following question: what comes next? For college students, it's a question that can generate a lot of stress, especially when job opportunities in a post-graduation economy are far from promised. That said, those economic uncertainties have introduced a new conversation in both of those settings. What about focusing on a school-to-career transition? That is, instead of simply preparing students for the next step of their educational journey, give them the opportunity to learn more about potential careers and jobs. That's exactly what's happening in Mynderse Academy in Seneca Falls. The Seneca Falls Central School District introduced a school-to-career program several years ago and has seen significant gains in student activity and output as a result. To discuss the program this week, I was joined by Mynderse Academy Principal Faith Lewis, business education teacher Ann Smith, and school-to-career counselor Kim Stevers. It was a fascinating discussion and one that I hope you will stick around for. First, though, a quick message from today's show sponsors, Mynderse and Ricky, the Finger Lakes personal injury attorneys. With offices in Seneca Falls and Geneva, they are ready to serve you. Give them a call at 568-5861 or 789-9191 to find out how today. Stay tuned, and thanks for making Inside the FLX a part of your week. Inside the FLX and other programming on FingerLakes1.com is made possible by local sponsors supporting local reporting. Learn more about advertising on Finger Lakes One by clicking on the Advertise button at the bottom of our homepage.
I was severely injured. I was on a ventilator. My husband was scared and he just went for the nearest number that he had heard advertised over and over and figured they're the best, they know what they're doing. I think that's the typical reaction, but unfortunately it wasn't the right one. And I'm thankful that we learned that early on in the process. He decided to look for someone locally who would give us a little more personalized attention. And when we met Steve and talked with him, we knew that we had found that person. If you want to feel like you have an attorney who's in your corner, who's going to listen to you, who's going to endeavor to understand you, give Steve a call. I really felt like everyone at Mynderse and Ricky really cared.
For a law firm that cares about you, contact Mynderse and Ricky at 315-568-0911. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
All right, so thanks a lot for coming in, guys. Obviously, a lot going on right now, but a really interesting program that you guys have going on within the district, the School-to-Career Program. If we could just start by giving us sort of a 101 overview of what that program looks like, Kim.
Sure, yes. So I'm the School to Career Services Program Coordinator, and I work in the counseling office. Basically what we're doing is trying to help students figure out what they want to do in their post-secondary world, whether that be go on to college, whether it be to go into the workforce, or even into the military. So to do that, we try to create partnerships with different businesses and agencies in the community that allows us to allows the students to go out into job shadows, and we also bring in guest speakers and host different career fair. We had a career fair this fall. That was the first one that we've had in quite some time, I believe. And we also send students out on career-oriented field trips.
So how long has this program been around or been implemented at Mynderse Academy?
Well, when I started a couple years ago, but prior to that, Ann Smith, who's here today, who's also our business teacher, she had the position. And when she took on the position, I think she kind of reformulated it a bit from where it stood in the past. So I think the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, it's kind of taken a different direction from where it was in the past.
And what has that reception looked like so far from students? What is that year in, year out? What does that sort of look like? How are students reacting to it?
Oh, they love it. They love any opportunity they can to go out and job shadow or find out more about a career. I'm not even sure if it was in existence, or it was, but I'm not sure at what capacity. But yeah, so when I came, actually Andy Dole was our principal at the time, and he said, go ahead, build a school to career program. We need to get our students out there. It's important for them to get more real world experiences. Put them out in job shadows, do anything we can to help them connect to the real world.
And Faith, as an administrator, obviously a program like this, you must see tangible benefits to this year in and year out as well, right?
Absolutely. It has allowed for some great opportunities for some of our students. We have some students who graduate high school with, a full-time job based on, their job shadow or experience that they have. There's so many different pathways to graduation now, and one of those is, the CDOS credential, which can be added to any type of diploma. And so with what we have created at the school, it allows the students the opportunity to gain the hours that they need, which is right around 216 hours, which is a lot, but many of our students hit that point just because they enjoy getting out there, or they can make a connection with a certain person or company and they keep going back.
And how diverse, you mentioned the different pathways to graduation now, how diverse are the opportunities as far as what students are seeing and encountering from grades 9 through graduation?
I don't know if it can get any more diverse, to be honest. We have people going to the orthodontist, we have, students going out to farms or, different businesses. It's really, if they have an interest, they approach Kim and she tries to find a connection for them to be able to go out.
So the days of, one or two pathways, whether that be regents, advanced regents, maybe you get an elective or two along the way, a language, but not much else. Those days are gone, right?
Absolutely.
How much of a game changer is that, just in terms of what you guys have seen from students? They must be significantly, I would think, happier under those circumstances, yes?
Yeah, I think that, it has allowed students to formulate more of a definitive plan when they leave us. Kim can talk about a student who had went thinking that she wanted to do something in oral health care and came back and was like, that's disgusting, like I don't want to do that. And she wouldn't have known that until she started college and into the program. So it definitely has opened their eyes to different opportunities.
And you probably are faced with situations like that all the time. People who think kids who think they want to go in one direction and not.
Or they don't realize what's involved in it. They think of it as one thing, and then they go out and they realize, and that can go either way. And I tell the students that can be a positive job shadow is just as good as or a negative job shadow is just as good as a positive one. So if you go out and realize this is not at all what I thought it was, and I've even went into the classrooms and talked to the different students, and some of the teachers have confirmed that and saying how beneficial it would be to go out into a job shadow, because when they go into a college program, they're not really doing any student teaching until the latter part of their program. So if they discover their third or fourth year in college that they no longer they don't enjoy being in a classroom, they don't enjoy being in front of students, that might not be the career for them. Well, you can imagine here you've spent 3 or 4 years in a major at college that isn't really for what you want to do.
Has that been the big challenge for education to overcome in the last 10 years, is just getting students the opportunity to actually see what different careers are like before they invest tens of thousands of dollars, or even before they decide on what major they want to pursue?
Well, I feel in Seneca Falls, I feel very fortunate that we offer that. I have kids, I have 4 sons, and they went through the school, and I have a couple currently there. So I feel very fortunate that our school provides that. Many other area schools do not. So I think Seneca Falls definitely has a leg up on that. But what it's done is provided students with just, and that's why I try to tell our students, it's not about knowing what you want to do, and you have to decide what your major is going to be before you go, or what area of work you want to pursue. It's important really for them to just be exposed to different professions. We had a career fair this past fall, and we invited in over 60 guests to talk to students. The students had the opportunity to go around and learn about the different professions that exist, and also just to hone their communication skills, because that's important. They were very nervous about going up and talking to people, so it provides many different benefits. Not only are you, like if you go out in a job shadow, you have the opportunity to interact with people, you have to dress appropriately for that field, whatever it is. We had a student last year, he was interested in broadcast. He went up to News Channel 9 and spent the entire day there behind the scenes during 3 live broadcasts. It was a pretty exciting opportunity for him. So he could imagine what that would be like, but if you go and you actually spend the day there and talk to people in the field, is far more beneficial than just reading about it.
And Josh, can I just add to that? I mean, we are lucky here in Seneca Falls when I had the position, and I know that Kim's experiencing it too, that we have great partnerships here in Seneca Falls.
Definitely.
I mean, it couldn't work unless we did. And every job shadow that our students go out on, I mean, they're meaningful, they get the students involved. It's not just like stand here and observe. I mean, I remember putting a student in with an anesthesiologist at Finger Lakes Medical, and they actually got to go in right into the surgery. Veterinarian, they prefer students to come on days that they do surgeries. And I've had students come back and say, "Oh, Mrs. Smith, that was terrible. That was not for me. I didn't realize I had to, clip dogs' toenails and do all that stuff." But I said to them, "That's okay. That's good. Now you know." Explore something else.
So let's talk a little more about that. The actual response from the community, and specifically the business community, who I'm assuming are getting to sort of see the next generation of prospective professionals in their field. What's that reception been like?
From the students?
From the business community, the folks who are actually interacting with these students. Is it overwhelmingly positive? Is it give us more? If you can give us more, give us more?
Yes,
Yep.
all of that.
Yep.
And they're wonderful. I mean, they'll not only take in our students for job shadows, they come into our classroom. We have a list here of people who have come into the classroom just to share, what they do. It's really always positive. I've never had a business.
I've only had one person out of countless people that I've contacted say that they weren't able to provide that an opportunity for the students. So I'm looking to try to, what I would ideally like is to continue that in the community and just bring awareness to businesses and agencies, and for them to reach out to us. Hey, we're looking for students. We want to share our passion. We want to today's student is tomorrow's workforce, so it's really important to make those connections with our students.
Sorry, Kim. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but one thing that they're very, all of them across the board are adamant about is teaching our students soft skills and the importance of soft skills and being on time and being dependable and just being at the workplace, being trustworthy. Right. So they all stress that, don't they, when
Definitely.
they come in to speak, which is...
And I've talked with some employers that have had to modify some of their expectations because today's the generation is just a little bit different than the previous generation. Like all generations have went through those transitions. So just modifying a bit to kind of cater to what they're looking for, but also it's just really important for the students to learn the different skills necessary. Communication is a big one. Promptness. Just learning the different attributes that employers are looking for.
I'm glad you brought that up, Anne, because it's definitely a benefit for our students, a benefit for our partnerships in the community, but also it's a benefit for us because we get a lot of feedback as to what skills are our students lacking. What is it that we need to focus on more? Outside of the academic piece, where does our focus need to be in order for them to be successful outside of school? So that feedback has been great, and that was some feedback we got from the job and college fair that we had. Is they were able to tell us students don't know how to approach us. They'd come and stand at the table and look at us, and they'd have to address them. So that was good for us to know. So now we can start addressing that in the classroom.
Is that so? That was going to actually be my next question. Is communication, is that kind of the X factor in terms of the feedback that you're getting and what you're hearing from folks out in the community?
I think it's a big piece. How to have that one-on-one or in a small group. Communication face-to-face. Making the eye contact, approaching somebody. Just those skills. A lot of the stuff that our students do nowadays is online or through texting or. And so just bringing those skills back that they may be possibly lacking. So
to that end, is that something how difficult is that to actually administer and teach in a classroom? I'd have to imagine that, communication at that level to some degree can only be learned in those realistic circumstances that you guys are sort of talking about today, right?
Yeah, it's as simple, though, as when we walk up to somebody in the hallway and say good morning and, maybe even telling them, you need to look me in the eye when somebody's talking to you. It can be those small interactions one-on-one with kids. Teachers are being purposeful about putting certain things into their classroom in order to hit some of those marks that we know that we need to hit So it's happening, but you're right. It's those authentic times that really is what's going to hit home for students.
And I'm always curious, do we think this is more of a reality born out of technology and all the devices that we have with us all the time? Or is it just that it's not really being instilled at a young enough age, and maybe that's part of the equation here too, introducing these types of circumstances to students at a younger age rather than waiting until they're 17, 18 years old?
I think it's both. I think it's a combination of all of it. You know, kids definitely have a device in their hand at a much younger age. You know, students know how to text their parents probably before they know how to read. And so, you know, that's just automatic to them. And so we do have the conversations across the district. And so the elementary schools, you know, they understand the need. The middle schools are also working on it. So hopefully, you know, we can continue to instill it at a younger age, and then, you know, it'll be better once they get up to the high school.
Now, one of the things you guys mentioned were the student fairs and the opportunities for folks from out in the community to come in and talk about what they do in their professions, things like that. I can think back to my days 10, 15 years ago in high school, and it seemed like pretty much what Faith was describing earlier, where a lot of standing and staring and not a lot of actual interaction. Is there sort of a curve? Are we getting to a better place now than we were 4 or 5 years ago? Obviously, there's some room for improvement. You agree there, but is it better now? A little bit better now?
I personally feel I was very proud of our students. The ones that were having difficulty, I purposefully sought them out and went around with them and kind of guided them and showed them. So that's a lot of it. It's just practicing those skills, showing them how to do it. You know, they don't know if they're never taught. So I think during the career fair, I purposefully helped those students that were struggling with that and just explain to them, okay, this is how you do it. You just walk over and you introduce yourself. And then once that ice was broken, they were much more at ease. So and then there were other ones that they had no trouble at all walking up and talking to the different participants that were there. So, and I, to go back to, like, we also give the students the opportunity, and I've had students come into my office that, for instance, she didn't know how to quit her job. She was overwhelmed with schoolwork. She's doubling up on some classes, and she's like, I really don't know how to quit my job. How do I do that? She's never done it before. So we practiced. We did some role playing, and she went in and explained to them. I said, the biggest thing is just communicating, and so that was very helpful for her. So
is a program like this sort of the beginning of creating more of those real life circumstances that are teachable in an academic setting, essentially?
I think so. I mean, just, you know, as Kim was saying, the students are noticing where they might need some assistance, and they're seeking out the appropriate people. You know, they're also asking those questions to teachers that maybe they might be comfortable with. But it allows us to have those conversations. If we know, you know, that a student was seeking out how to quit a job, you know, maybe we have that conversation with other students as well, because she's not going to be the only one that's struggling with that.
Right. So who is the target of a program like this? Is there a particular audience at the school that you're trying to work with, or that you're talking to first about these types of opportunities? Or is this one of those things where literally anybody and everybody can get involved and take part in it?
Anybody and everybody from 9th grade to 12th grade. So every student has these opportunities. We go in the classroom. I try to promote it in the classroom. Several announcements are put out. We send out emails, Twitter, just trying to promote the program to the parents, because we feel that they might be the ones encouraging their child to participate. So it's definitely open to the whole school. And we encourage it.
And job shadows too, if they can drive, because we don't provide transportation, but students need to get their own transportation to their job shadows. But if we can start with career exploration as freshmen, even younger. I mean, we're 9 to 12, but Kim came into all of my classes this year, and we did a program called Zello, which is a career exploration program. And it was fantastic. It was received really well by the students, and
right. And the software is new this year. It took the place of something that we had previously, and it allows students to do career interest inventory, personality testing, as well as learning style assessments. And what that does is generate a list of careers that they might possibly be well suited for. It's not just a final list and that's all that they should be considering, but it just brings awareness to students of the different professions that are out there. So it was very helpful.
So to that end, we talked a little bit about the community buying in, local businesses buying in. What does that do in your estimation for the next generation, for keeping this local economy going in the right direction and maybe retaining some of the students who might not have otherwise stayed in the Finger Lakes area or stayed in Seneca Falls or Seneca County? How important is this type of community building at that age a part of making sure that we're good 10, 15, 20 years from now?
I think it's huge. You know, our local businesses are great. They'll reach out if, you know, they have a need from the school. Anytime we reach out, they're more than willing to take in kids, you know, show them. But also, like Kim was saying earlier, they come into school and we'll talk about, you know, on-the-job training that they provide, or, you know, schooling that they will pay for or provide, you know, if you're willing to come work for them. I think that it allows the kids to see what the opportunities are in the local area, where they may not necessarily know that those are opportunities here. So then it does give them a chance to, you know, if they want to do this, they can stay here and do that. So
We've
I think
actually had some great field trips too. Like we've been to Bonnedent. Bonnedent's wonderful about, I brought all of our marketing students, and we not only toured the marketing department, but their entire facility. So the students got a great, you know, view of what is going on inside Bonnedent. So hopefully they'll want to stay, maybe, you know, and hopefully live and work here in the Finger Lakes.
So
that's just one example of one business.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Field trips obviously must be part of the equation too, where you can get a bunch of students all in one shot exposed to a particular thing or type of work. How important is that? Just being able to get maybe 20, 30, 40 students all in one day exposed to something.
It's huge.
Yeah.
You can talk about
It really is huge. We brought out several students last year for many different, for instance, in the fall there is the Finger Lakes Works with Their Hands, which promotes the skilled trades profession, which that is kind of one of my little favorite things that I really like to promote among students. I mean, what is it? Almost 30% do not go off. I think it's around 26% or so of our students last year did not go to either a 2 or 4 year school. They went into the workforce or into military. I think it is very crucial to promote the skilled trades. These are viable professions that our students can go into with little training and even apprenticeship programs, and they're great careers that offer fantastic benefits. So, and it is in high demand. So I really would love for different companies to reach out to us and offer some apprenticeship program to our students. It would be amazing for our students to be able to go work a few hours a week, kind of getting ready for their post-secondary world. If they want to go right into the workforce, these are great options for them. So I think it's really important to promote them to our students and just form those relationships with the school, so maybe we can put some of our students right to work right out of school in a profession that they could possibly retire from when they're 50 years old. You know?
Are we seeing more students now than 4, 5, 6 years ago take advantage of those apprenticeships, the different types of work programs where there's, say, like a 3 or 6 month training, and then all of a sudden they're on the job and they're making a living wage and all is good?
I mean, I think this is what I've been trying, is just bringing awareness to them. So I really am trying to form those relationships with those companies. Being in a smaller area, we don't have as many opportunities as you do if you were in the city. So that's my goal today, is to promote that, and maybe some area companies can reach out and we can form those relationships to provide those opportunities.
So I want to give you guys a chance to talk about some of the success stories that you've seen with this program. Walk us through, if any particular one, if each of you could just, one that comes to mind that was either really interesting or just a general success of the program itself.
For the field trips?
Yeah.
Last year we went on, it was actually one of my favorite field trips. We went to the Finger Lakes Workforce Investment Board sponsored it. We went to, it was an agricultural field trip and food sciences. So we went to a farm up in, it was on west of Geneva, and we spent several hours there, and they were taught. And farms nowadays, they're very high. They're highly technological. They're far more advanced than I grew up on a dairy farm, so I can speak to that. They're far more advanced than what they were 30 years ago. They're big business, and so it was really beneficial for our students to see all the necessary skills that are involved in the agricultural field. The students were really engaged, even students that had never been on a working farm, but they have an interest in that field because it encompasses many different areas. It's just not working on just say a dairy farm. And then from there we went to the FLC program up in Geneva, the Viticulture Program, and that was very engaging for the students, and that all correlates with the agricultural field. So, and then from there we went to Cornell's, their site in Geneva, and it was just amazing talking about food sciences and the need for the food, all the food that we're going to have to provide in the future for our growing population. So it was very interesting, and every one of the students came back and said that was by far our favorite field trip. Very engaging.
So, and then just switching over to Anne, any particular story from a student that just really sticks out to you, or any particular incident over the last 2 years as you've sat through this, seeing just the impact that it's having on the students at such a young age, 16, 17 years old?
Yep. I just want to say, too, with Kim's field trip that she's talking about, when I took students on that, I mean, that's not, your grandpa's farm anymore. I mean, that's high-tech farming that's going on, and it's awesome for these students to see. A couple things jump out. I take my sports and entertainment class to Syracuse University, and we toured the Dome, and we toured the Newhouse broadcast, which is awesome because they can see two different careers, and they're just both state-of-the-art facilities, and, of course, they love going to the Dome. And we tour everything from concession stand, talking to workers there, right through to ticket sales, to right on the field, to the back room, and how the court is taken apart and put back together. So it's very engaging. They're very much into it. And then we go over to the Newhouse Center where they actually get to pretend they're but there's a green screen behind them and they're all part of it. So and just being on a college campus. So that's always thrilling for the students. They love it. And there's nothing better than a student coming back after a job shadow and saying, Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Stevers, that was fantastic. Thank you. You have, solidified my decision to go into broadcasting or the medical career or something like that.
Yep. So now what I want to do is I just want to fast forward. Everybody get their crystal balls out. I'll throw this one to all three of you. 10, 15 years from now, does high school education, that 9 through 12, does it look more like this than it does today? Does this almost become a permanent part of how high school is treated?
I think so. I think it needs to become the norm, across the board for all schools. We need to provide our students with those opportunities to see what's out there. College is not for everybody, and that's okay. And that's one thing that we try to stress at Mynderse is that, it's all right if you don't want to go off to college. And so that's one reason why we try to provide these opportunities. So, if they can leave high school and be successful and get a job that they can live on, that's fabulous as well. And so I think that we need to provide more of that, and it just seems to be growing. The opportunities that, Kim is able to provide our kids and the connections that she has made, with our local community as well as, communities around us for our students is amazing, and it's just going to continue to grow.
And Kim, how does a program like this keep evolving and keep growing and building into the future?
I think building relationships with agencies, corporations, that is key. Small businesses. I mean, today's students are tomorrow's workforce. These are the connections that you need to make. I know there's many people that are saying that they can't find enough different skilled trades or whatever the professions are. They're unable to fill these positions. Reach out to our students. Inspire them to want to go into your field.
And is this also an opportunity for parents to have conversations with their kids 100%. About these different types of opportunities and things like that?
Absolutely, and that's why I try to communicate a lot with the parents, because I think that is the motivator. They're pushing their kids to encouraging, should I say, their kids to participate in these, because I think they see the value in it. I've had several parents come up to me and say, I wish we had this when I was in school. We never did this. So I think it's definitely a positive on all sides, and the parents are very encouraging and supportive of it.
We also offer some evening events where, parents are encouraged to come in with their students, and the different companies will come in. There was one last year where we had GW Lisk and Gould and FLCC.
Yep.
Like, they came in and talked about a partnership that they have where, kids can go to FLCC and do a 6-month training on the job, some schooling, and then end up with a job at one of those two places that they can easily make a living from. And a lot of parents didn't know about that. So, there's those opportunities too for our parents to learn right along with their kids.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, guys. Obviously, a lot of cool stuff going on there. Best of luck with continuing that in 2019 and well beyond that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for making Inside the FLX a part of your week. That's all the time we have for today. New episodes air on Thursday and Sunday exclusively on FingerLakes1.com. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, rate and review the podcast. It helps new listeners find the program and ensures that local journalism continues to thrive here in the Finger Lakes. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, stay tuned to FL1 News for the latest and breaking news here in the Finger Lakes.